Welcome to WIGI-pedia. And as many of you know, and let me explain what WIGI-pedia is about. It's our new go-to educational series. But what it's about is highlighting our own subject matter experts, or our SMEs. And so today, it's also from our membership. So we want to highlight people, but we also want to use it to inform and engage our membership. And it's obviously taking off, and everyone's very excited about doing that. Many of you know me, but my name is Kay McMahon, and I'm currently serving as the president of WIGI, but I'm also going to be the moderator for today. So as we get started, I'm going to ask everybody to mute themselves for most of the presentation, where we'll have our three panelists. And then I'll say this a couple of times, but so if you mute yourself, and then the way to ask questions, I'm going to ask you to do it in the chat, and we'll read questions afterwards. This is WIGI-pedia, which is our educational series, but then every other month we do our getting to know you calls for members, which have also been exceptional in making great connections with a lot of people, a lot of our members. And so we do those every other month. So for those of you that are not members, we definitely want to ask you to join us. And on the webpage is a wonderful button that says join us. And all you have to do is click that. And it's a big button. It's not just a little button, it's a big button to join us. And can talk a little bit about WIGI was about women in the golf industry, thinking that we needed a place to connect, which is that they were 11 founding members, and there's still Pat Baldwin's one, Kathy Bissell's another. And it's again, just to get women, because there's all kinds of women in the golf industry, and just so that we have a larger voice and connecting each other to each other. One of the big things about WIGI too, for those of you that are members, we're going to ask you, number one, to please update your profile, because we have a new wonderful website. And that's another way that you can connect with the other members and use them as resources. But the other big thing that WIGI is doing too is there's a perk page. So if you have any type of a product or a service that you'd like to offer to other members, that you can then offer a 15% or 10% or some type of a discount or some type of a special offer. Those perks will also be highlighted in our newsletter, which we send out quarterly. So there's a lot of advantages to joining WIGI. So and if any of you have any questions about WIGI, you can always call one of myself, and our names, the board members, are on the website, which is Women in the Golf Industry. Again, thank you all for joining us. We are very excited that you're all here. For media, social and more, building a business. And I think, again, we're talking about making connections. So our guests today, we've got featured three panelists, three business women who are golf media experts. Holly Gagan, she's president of Golf Marketing Services. Christina Ritchie, she is founder of Christina Ritchie Golf and More Power Camps. And Christina Thompson, she's the founder of golfforher.com, amongst a few other things, and each have a strong social media presence and expertise. So each panel will be sharing their areas in marketing, media, traditional as well as social, and all components in building a successful business, especially in today's confusing environment. Panelists will each have about 10-15 minutes to explain their areas of expertise, and then at the end we'll open this up for some questions, or if you have questions when the panelist is speaking again, please put them in the chat and I'd be glad to read the questions. And then we'll open it up for a major discussion between the panelists at the end, and we'll see where this leads us. So with that, allow me to introduce our panelists. First off, we're going to start off with Christina Thompson, as I said, who is the founder of golfforher.com, which is a popular online boutique selling women's golf apparel and accessories, which she launched in 2010. Her statement is, golf isn't simply a game, it's a lifestyle. Christina sells products from top designers and luxury brands and has created a strong, very strong online social media presence. She is also the co-host, and she's extremely talented of the popular On the Tee with Anita Marks, an engaging golf radio program, which airs weekly on ESPN. So with that, let's start with Christina Thompson. And we want to talk and kind of give an overview of what are the platforms that we all know that are on it, But what are the primary reasons you can talk about why use social media?
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be a part of this. And honestly, this is like one topic I can talk for days about. So I'm going to try to like slim it down and like talk for 10 minutes. But social media is just such a cool product that is, as you all know, is pretty new, right? And I know a lot of you on here, I see a lot of familiar faces are using social media in different areas. And I'm excited about this conversation today because I know there's some ladies that are on this call right now who have never really played around in social media, have been scared or kind of like dip their toe in it a little bit, but like really don't fully engage because it is a little bit intimidating because there's so many platforms out there. We're all in, other than I'm assuming golf as our common denominator here, we all have a different role and we all do different things within the golf industry. But just real quick, I just want to know, is everybody here on at least one social media platform? Right?
Just raise your hand.
Yeah, right. And I'm going to guess all of you are on Facebook, right? So you all have everyone has a Facebook account, right? Well, what I just want to talk about kind of in the beginning is kind of like what I did to start my business 11 years ago. And kind of like what social platforms are out there right now, just to show you there's so many different options that are out there. And depending on the business that you're in and who your demographic is, that's really should dictate the type of social media platform that you use. I mean, listen, I want to be everywhere. I jump into every single social media platform pool there is. I know Tori Totlis is on here right now. I'm obsessed with her TikTok. TikTok, whatever. I love it. I think it's an awesome, but I still have no idea how to use it. But that's a new feature. It's a new platform. But I think it's super cool what she's doing on here. But what I wanted to talk about is just kind of overview of like the different types of social media platforms out there and how they're used. And they are all used differently and they're not for everybody. And I'm in e-commerce. I sell golf clothes all day long. So the platforms that I spend the most time on are different than someone who is maybe a teaching instructor like Christina Ricci, and she's going to talk about her YouTube channels and the video platforms that she uses. I use different platforms. And I think the first thing before you dive into any kind of social media strategy is to understand who your demographic is and then carve out which social platforms best suits that demographic. So me being in e-commerce, I mean, obviously I'm on Facebook. Instagram is fantastic. Pinterest is a big platform. If you sell products, you do tips or anything for women, I mean, you have to be on Pinterest. Those are all drivers of revenue. But just I want to just go through a couple like the different types of social networking and how they're used for those that might not be familiar with all the different platforms that are out there. When I started my business 11 years ago, I jumped right into Facebook. It was the first thing that I did back in 2009. And my recommendation is, be on Facebook, start, a business profile on Facebook, build a community there. And that's where you can do a lot of vetting and you can get a lot of information from Facebook because there's a lot of, I would say the majority of people are on a Facebook more than any other social platform that's out there. And Facebook is great for sharing events, building a business profile, adding links to your website and doing some questions and polling and engaging with your demographic. So I think Facebook is a great way to start if you're starting a business. I did that for a year prior to me launching. I was on Facebook and Twitter. Twitter's another great platform for people to post about your company, upcoming events, tagging, following hashtags, and what's trending in your specific demographic or in your genre. And another one is LinkedIn. I mean, when you're starting your business, you want to connect with others in your peer group. So LinkedIn is a great platform to use for career-related networking. So I think of like the top three when you're starting a business. I would recommend doing those three, like Facebook page, Twitter, and LinkedIn to get yourself started. They all have different tools that you would use to communicate with your demographic. Does everybody here have a LinkedIn account? Is everybody on LinkedIn?
Yeah.
Does everybody use LinkedIn? No, I see a lot of no's, right? So LinkedIn is,
okay,
it's funny because.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I'm just going to go back. Okay. So I wish you were more enthusiastic. No, I'm kidding.
Sorry.
Okay. I know you want to cover a lot. Okay. So far you've done Facebook. And so that's where you think people should start. Okay.
Yes, at a minimum.
Use the word vetting. What does that really mean?
Well, what you want to do is when you're starting your own business, you want to make sure you are helping define your missions and your business, and you want to understand. You want to make sure you're getting to the right customers, right? Because on a lot of the social media stuff, I mean, like I said, I love TikTok, but it's not necessarily the right demographic. So you want to make sure that whatever you're using, you can use these tools to, you know, well, first of all, to get to the right demographics there, to learn about your demographic, to ask questions, because that the data that you get, whether it's even surveying, um, wherever you can reach out to your community and learn more about what their needs and their wants are and where they're spending time, then you can develop a strategy that supports that. So you can really, you can go onto Facebook. There's 1.3 billion people on Facebook at any given time. But what you want to be able to use that platform to understand more about your demographic and figure out where. So that's kind of like, I think Facebook is kind of like the gateway to all social media. And if you're going to start a business, I think it's a great place to start. And when I say vetting, at least you can vet the people that are coming through to your social media. So you make sure that you give them the content as you develop your strategy, the content that they want. And I think that's the best place to start.
I kind of interrupted you because you had gone to TikTok. So that means that I have to do a dance of some sort.
And no, then you have to do, yes.
And then you moved right into LinkedIn, and that's where I interrupted you. So can you just talk a little bit about, because LinkedIn is a good business aspect rather than having to do some type of a dance.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, Facebook, life events, sharing, building a business. But LinkedIn is a great place for career-related networking. So sharing events that you're participating in, sharing board meetings like this, or great Zoom calls, or if you have something that's newsworthy, share it by yourself. This is where you can really establish yourself as a thought leader amongst your peers. And this is, I think, a fantastic way to, if you have questions, if you're a small business, if you're a solopreneur, if you're an entrepreneur who has one or two people working for you, you don't really know where to go, if you need social media help, this is the network that is going to help you, because there are peers out there who have the answers. And so you can go there to ask questions. You can go there to share events, share upcoming milestones in your business development of your business, to share anything that's related to you to build your own credibility within your industry. I think is a great tool. I don't use it enough. I'm a little overwhelmed with the amount of social media that we're on, but as a personal tool, I think it's great for each and every business owner to be on LinkedIn and sharing information with their peers about other things that are going on in golf. Like we have a new commissioner at the LPGA, sharing that information out there. There's just so much knowledge that we can share amongst ourselves, even, even at social media tips, or some new great things that they found out there. Use LinkedIn to build that.
Can I ask you another question? You just mentioned you're talking about sharing information that's not necessarily always related to what you're doing, sharing information with other people, as you use the example of the LPGA. Is that correct?
That is correct. I would say even on Twitter, you don't want to always be selling your product, because that becomes so pitchy and salesy. And then people think, oh, all she wants to do is sell a bunch of golf skirts, which I do. But, you also want to share information about what's going on in the industry around you. With us, women's golf, I always look for nuggets of information to share about the incredible things that women who are playing golf, amateurs, pros in the golf industry, what's going on, because that's sharing knowledge. And by sharing knowledge about your industry, you're building your own self-brand and building your own credibility within your industry. So I think being able to share that information, again, on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn are great ways to build your own personal credibility. And then when you have a business or a product or a service that you want to sell, you already have that credibility there, and it just gives you so much leverage, and people will want to automatically, they buy into what you're selling, because they see that you're a thought leader and that you're genuinely part of this community, and they will support it even more.
I agree with you, because I use LinkedIn a lot, and I get a lot of responses and stuff like that. And the more I do share other things, and then I learned making the conversation go back and forth, you actually get a lot more likes or hits or whatever you're talking about.
Yeah, they call it social networking for a reason. It's not social selling, right? It's social networking. It's networking, sharing, dialoguing, relationship building.
So let me ask you, what platforms do you think would be good for which industries?
So
generalize.
Yeah, I get a lot of those. I get that question a lot from a lot of people. So okay, I'll start with retail. Retail is obviously my sweet spot. So Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Snapchat, those I think are great places for if you're in the retail industry. If you're selling a product, a good, those are areas that I think are the most beneficial for someone in that industry. If you're in the media, definitely Facebook. You can share a lot of great content there. Twitter. YouTube is fantastic for that because you can share a ton of media, videos, content. That's, I mean, heavy content if you're in the media industry. Any kind of sports. I mean, if you're, Instagram is great for photo sharing, experiencing, trying to get like that warm and fuzzies. If you have some images that you want to share, I mean, that's a great platform to be in. Obviously in YouTube for that. Financial services benefit really strongly from Facebook and LinkedIn and LinkedIn and Twitter, because those are personal things. Those are places that are sensitive, right? So if you're engaged in any money investments, you want to be in those with the demographic of people who are using those tools. So usually that's a higher demographic, higher income bracket is usually found in the LinkedIn professional platform.
Let me just, okay, you could go on and on. I know this. Okay.
I know, I told you.
No, it's okay. We wanted you to give us an overview, and that makes it more overwhelming than it was before. So this is great. So I think of how do I learn how to use it? How do I learn that, number one, just how to use it, not even effectively, because sometimes you get into LinkedIn or even Facebook and it's like, okay, where does this go? Where does this thread go? And it's basically kind of how to manage their social media.
So there are so many tools that are out there for you to find. I mean, the one thing about the internet now is you can basically Google anything and find it. And there's so many resources that you can find to say, hey, how does Facebook work? Like, what is it? How does it work? How does LinkedIn work? What are the pros? What are the cons? How do I get started? There's businesses out there who have dedicated their lives to helping people get started. Now, some of these things come at a cost. And social media management can become very expensive and very time consuming. But the internet is such a great resource. And I think being even on those social tools, you can just put out, hey, I need help getting started with Facebook. Is there anyone who can help me? I mean, that is the purpose of these tools. Use them because there's people there who would love to help out. I mean, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to myself or anybody else here. If you have a question about how any of the tools work, I would love to help you out because it's something I spend a lot of time doing, but it's there for you. And you just have to kind of click away a little bit and you'll be able to find some great resources.
This is awesome. Okay, I know. All right. Yeah, this is a great beginning. Okay, we're going to pass the baton here and I'm sure there's going to be questions here at the end. So just hang on, don't go anyplace. All right, Christina Ritchie, and let me just do a little intro about you. Christina is an author and founder of Christina Ritchie Golf and More Par Camps. You're also an LPGA and a PGA member. You're also a Titleist Performance Institute Fitness and Performance Coach, which is known as TPI. You are well known for your series of your sellout series of More Par Camps. And you have a very large and loyal social media following with your popular tip of the week featured, which you regularly do on More Pars, which is your YouTube channel, and you've got a lot of followers. So with that, let me open this up, and Christina wants to talk a little bit, and she's got a slide presentation. You can talk about how you got started, a little bit about your journey, and about how to grow your brand or highlight your brand in production tips, because a lot of people put stuff up on YouTube channels that should really be taken down. So if you can take it away about how you got started.
Absolutely. So I'm going to go ahead and do my screen share. Ever since I was a little girl, I'm a show and tell. I need to show stuff. Show me the pictures. All right, just so you guys know what Christina T was saying about learning how to do anything on social media, go to YouTube. My dryer broke and I fixed my dryer by going to YouTube. It's the best. All right, so I'm just going to give you a little backstory and kind of how I got into the video, which is now driving my business. So I started golf in 2000. So I didn't start when I was 5. I started later in life. I lived in Florida, so I was able to play every day. I took a lot of lessons, and I went from a new golfer to a 5 handicap in 5 years. And at the time, I was in my own business. I had my own marketing business, and primarily I did graphics. So my background is computer graphics and publishing. So I said, wow, there's no chance I'm going on tour. So what can I do? I want to marry my 2 passions because I love golf, and I'm losing all my clients because the only thing I want to do is play golf. So I talked to my dad, who was actually in the hospital dying of cancer. And I'm like, God, I hope I don't cry. And I said, Dad, I want to do something with golf, you know? And he's like, well, do it. And he said, trust your dreams, do what you love, and the money will follow. It's not about the money. You got to do what you love. And so that was kind of the kickstart. So I just kind of took a leap of faith. And I said, all right, well, I'm not going to do a training aid. That's not good. What can I do? Oh, wait. Ooh, the light bulb. Oh, I'm in publishing. I'll do a book. So I wrote a book. And that was the start of it. So I wrote a book. Let me change my slide. And then I'm like, all right, I wrote a book. Now what? Now I got to get a publisher. So that was, say 2007. I had the book. I'm like, now what? So I actually unbelievably found an agent in New York. I had no idea how I did that, but I did it. And we went on the quest to find a publisher. And so we had a list of like 20 publishers, and every one of them said, no, who the heck is she? She's an amateur. She wrote a book. She's got no platform. Golf? Seriously? That's not even a big seller. Nope. So I'm like, oh boy. So my agent's like, well, we got one left. Let's give it a shot. So there we went. And she was a woman. She played golf, and she got it. And she said, yes. The last one on the list. She was a woman, and she took a leap of faith. She says, yep, let's do this. And that was the start. And from that point on, I said, all right, let's do this. So I dived right in. So you got to understand, what are you selling? At the time, I wasn't a teacher. I was a teacher through the books. I was basically sharing my journey of how I dropped to a 5 handicap in 5 years. That was the purpose of this book. And it was marketed to women because I just felt like there was nothing out there for women. So it was portable, it was cover to cover visuals, because everything else in the bookstore was big. You know, there were big pictures, but you couldn't really take them to the golf course. So this is actually designed to be used on the golf course. So my whole focus was selling the book. So how am I going to sell the book? I'm not going to do a book tour. It wasn't in my cards. So what I did was I started doing videos. I'm like, well, I can sell my books through my videos. I can highlight a tip from the book with a video. So I started doing these tip of the weeks, and I started promoting it on my website and through the books. And I started building a list. All right. So it's really important. I'm sure you guys do this already. You got to have a quality database. I mean, that's number one. Yeah, you can be on social, but you got to have your own database. All right. That is the driver. All right. So I started building my database of loyal followers to sell books. And then as it progressed, I use MailChimp. There's a lot out there, Constant Contact, but I just happen to like MailChimp because it's easy. The only thing is, once you get to a certain number, it gets expensive, so you got to be careful. So I'm at 421 tips. It's like 8 years. And I've had people with me since day one, which is amazing. All right. So I started selling books, and then I realized, wow, I really like doing videos. It's kind of fun. Right. And then I started getting a lot of inquiries about, hey, do you teach? I'm like, no, I don't teach. No. And then Karen Palacios Jansen, another woman, said, why don't you get LPGA? I'm like, nah. I think people won't relate to me because I'm an amateur. If I go pro, they're not going to relate to me anymore. And then the more I thought about it, I'm like, all right, maybe I will. So I did. And it was the best thing I ever did. So I became LPGA. And then I became TPI because I'm really a believer in the body swing connection. And then I definitely, the big dream was PGA. I've always wanted PGA. So my career evolved. And again, that was the second woman that kind of guided me into a direction like, you should do this. And that's what I did. And then I started hosting camps across the country. Now, hosting camps across the country was not my idea. This goes to another woman who inspired me, and she was a WIGI member, Barbara Goodstedt. She's awesome. So this was my first camp at the PGA National, and I highlighted her in yellow there. But she said, why don't you do camps? I'm like, I have no idea how to do it. So she helped. She really helped me do my first camps and showed me, like, she did all the back stuff. And then finally, it just made more sense that I did it. But she was another woman who inspired me. So it's the power of networking. And that's why WIGI is so awesome. And women helping women. I think that is so powerful. All right. So I started off with Pinterest with my books because that was easy. Christina alluded to that. It's a super powerful platform. I don't particularly like it for video. I like it for photos. That's just my take. But that's where I started, and it was great. Instagram, I'm still working at it. You got to post a lot. In my opinion, they got to be short and sweet. To me, the feeds, 60 seconds and less, video is king. And you got to be consistent with your look. All right. So whatever look you have, be consistent. And you got to be consistent with your posting too. So what I found with the tip of the week is people really like to have something that's going to be whatever it is, whether you're twice a week, once a week. I found that once a week for me was the best, because trying to do twice a week was just a little too much. And it wasn't really necessary because a week flew by. So as long as you're consistent with your posting. So that's kind of how I developed my YouTube channel. And
that's a nice look. It's a very nice outfit.
That's
I
Wonder
thought
Woman.
I had to make a comment somewhere in there. All right. Okay. Keep going.
Yeah. That's my trailer. I have when you create a YouTube channel, you have like a movie trailer, and that's mine. So I started posting, I said, you know what, let's just do a channel. So I did a YouTube channel. Now, like I said, the key for success on social is you got to be consistent. You got to provide value. Like Christina Thompson was saying, don't just sell. I mean, just don't promote yourself. People want value. They're going to trust you because you are posting value. The other thing that you need to focus on is quality. So I'm a solopreneur. I don't have people working for me. So I do everything myself, including my video production and editing. And so can you. But the key is you got to have quality production. All right, keep it short and sweet and make sure you have a call to action, whether it's links in the description or whatever. All right, so that's important. This is just one of the quotes. Donna and Marie, it's really funny. Your tips are invaluable. Our first discussion when we play is not how are you, but did you see Christina's tip? They're awesome. They came to camp. All right, so I'm going to get into the production tips. The number one thing is audio. You got to have great audio. That's just number one. All right. You can use your iPhone. I invested in a small camera. My recommendation, because everything's moving to 4K, just shoot in 4K. You can always bring it down. But if you can, shoot in 4K, minimum 1080. Obviously, there's no like even standard definition anymore. No one uses it. Shoot in landscape mode. You have to. Matter of fact, I have slides for this. I'm just going to pull through. So great audio. You can get the Sabine, which is really cool. You just use it through an app and you can connect it right to your iPhone. You can get the other mic here, like that one with the Shure motif. It's super easy, and just connect it to your iPhone. All right, you got to have good audio. Now, if you're shooting outside and it's windy, you got to have one of these puppies. All right, this is a windshield, wind muff, wind buster, whatever it is. Just Google it and you'll find it. So if you're shooting, what?
Does that mean it's a bad hair day?
I know, look at it. Looks like a cat. You gotta have one because it breaks the wind. You don't want to have wind. All right, so that's super important. Audio is number one. All right, shoot in 4K, landscape mode. That's important. The lighting, if you're shooting inside, you got to have lighting. So get the light box. You can find it on Amazon. If you have product, get this little Amazon basic portable thing. It's awesome. makes shooting product super easy, you know, as long as it's small. And then on camera, you want to be confident. You want to really show your unique personality. All right. Don't try to be someone else. Be you and get to the point. All right. The one thing that I heard from my YouTube comments, and I'll get to that in a second, is people are inundated with social media. And you can see everything's getting shorter and shorter and shorter with the emergence of TikTok, Snapchat. So you got to keep it short and sweet. All right. So that's what I try to do. And that's what people like on my YouTube channel, because everyone else has 10-minute and longer videos because they're trying to get the algorithms. But I am staying loyal to my audience, and I try to keep my videos short because that's what they like. All right. And you got to speak to your audience. So obviously you got to communicate in a way that whatever language, whatever industry you're in, you'll speak to them, and be casual, be real, be authentic. Some editing tips. Yep. You got.
Sorry, yeah, I was going to say it's kind of like Christina T was talking about too. Know your audience, you know.
Absolutely.
Go to your audience, and so that you're saying know your demographics, and then you're right, spot on. So I'm sorry, keep going. You're doing great.
Absolutely. So then we have some editing tips. There's InShot, which is a really cool app, super easy to use. iMovie to me is super friendly. And then the step up from that is Final Cut Pro. Kay and I use that. I really like Final Cut Pro. That's what I use. Just has more bells and whistles. It's a little more learning curve, but if you're really interested in creating really quality content, you can do it with any one of these. Just give it a shot. It's not as hard as, yeah.
Can I say something about that? Because it is a learning curve on all of them. And as you kind of go stepping up, but again, going back to what Christina T said, we're all here willing to help. So if somebody wants to jump into Final Cut Pro, sometimes it is a learning curve, and we can share information. So you use it, I use it, and we can help.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's important because you got to edit your videos. You really do. That way, if you make a mistake, you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to shoot it over because you can edit it. So output, this is the biggie. You got to output in ideally, well, I output mine in 4K just because I know everything's going there. But then I'll upload in as 1920 by 1080. Instagram with the feed, I do square. I do 1080 by 1080 for the feed, because it doesn't like horizontal. I'm not a big fan of Instagram TV, just because I think that 60 seconds gets more big bang for the buck. You get more you get more engagement. The other thing that you really need is strong. If you're gonna do a YouTube channel, you got to have strong posters. Even on Instagram or anywhere that needs a poster or thumbnail, you got to have really strong visuals, because that's how people find you and stop and actually click. Like YouTube, there's a lot of competition on YouTube now in my industry for golf tips. So I have to have a really strong visual for them to actually even click it. All right. So I use Photoshop. You can also use Canva, which is super user friendly, but you got to have that. That's really, really important.
You know, can I just jump in? Hey,
Yeah,
about this, the images sizes. I think what it's really important when anyone's jumping into using social media, especially like the images or photos, is to know that every single platform has different image size requirements. So an image that works for Instagram might not be the right optimal size for Facebook or Twitter. It's a nightmare. It's a pain in the neck, but there's some great tools out there that if you just Google like social media images, and it'll give you a list of the actual image sizes for like what you just said, like your YouTube channel, your thumbnail is a different size than would be maybe for a Twitter post. So it's important to know the optimal image sizes, and that's definitely Googleable. Is that a word? I think I just made it up. Just wanted to add that.
That's really important. Matter of fact,
let me jump in a little bit on that too, because it is confusing, all the numbers and all that. So if it seems like that's overwhelming, just slow down, and you can just do one thing at a time, and there you can Google whatever Googling, is that what you called it? Yes. Okay. So Googleable. There you go. Okay. Good.
So
okay.
Once you create your awesome content, I have it says later up here. That actually has a lot of great infographics on sizes. All right, so I'm gonna back up here for a second. This little 1-to-1 1080 that came from later. So they have a lot of great information on that site, and you can actually go there and sign up for their scheduler, because you got to schedule your tips. I just think it's easier. I use Facebook creator studio for the Facebook and Instagram posts. I post right on YouTube for the YouTuber. But the Later and the Hootsuite, those are super popular. I think Christina T, you use Later, don't you?
Yeah, I've been using Later for a couple, about 2 or 3 years. I use Later to do all my scheduling, and I use Canva for all the content creation.
Yeah, perfect. All right, so that's important. So final tips. Listen to your audience. So comments, always encourage comments because you can learn a lot. You know, what is the global theme that they're saying about you in the comments? And mine were, you get to the point. Sometimes I'm kind of funny, so they laugh. And my tips are simple and non-technical. That's what they like. So that's what I try to create across my brand. So it's the videos. I'm coming out with 3 new books, which I'm really excited about. And on the cover, it says simple and non-technical. All right. So I pulled that right from one of the comments because it's important. So listen to your audience and you can really grow your brand, you know, and capitalize on social media by, you know, building a loyal following and building your business, which is awesome. So go get it. Go get it, girls. That's it.
Okay. Again, we're working on, I wish you were a little bit more enthusiastic, high energy. Again, this is what it kind of takes. So, again, as we started out talking about, there's so much information and that could have been just a whole hour just in itself. So well, we're going to jump over to my friend Holly Gagan. They're hard acts to follow. I know that, Holly. So let me just talk a little bit about Holly. She is the president of Golf Marketing Services since 1996 when she established that. She is an author as well as the host and producer of the award-winning Golf Insiders radio show and podcast since 2008. She's interviewed numerous golf industry leaders, engaging panelists, media types of all types. She has been recognized as a golf changer within the golf industry with a successful track record of launching startups and turning them into market leaders. You were also the director of communications for the LPGA, but I don't even know the year to that one. So you can maybe, you don't want to even mention the year to that one.
When I was 12.
When you were 12, right. So that I'm going to turn it over to Holly. And, you know, I think we could start out talking about the basis of WIGI, but the basis of what you also do with social media and everything that you do is networking all the way from the local to the regional to the national level. So I'm going to say, take it away, Holly. Holly G.
Thank you. Well, it's great to see some longtime faces that I haven't seen in a while. Jamie, good to see you. Pat Baldwin, oh my goodness. I remember back in Lake Mary when Golf for Women was just getting started. So yeah, I started in the business in 1990. Oh my goodness. And I think there were maybe a dozen women walking the PGA show that year. And launched, actually, I got involved in a very exciting project in 1994 with a little company down in Boca Raton called Interzine Productions. And I got a phone call from this guy one day, and he started talking to me about this thing called the World Wide Web and da-da-da-da. They had just done a story on me in Golf Week magazine. He said, anyway, I want to come up and talk to you. Bottom line, he had this vision for the first commercial website in golf. And it was called iGolf. And we partnered with a company called America Online. For those of you who remember the old days of America Online and all those little discs we used to get. I still have countless of those in my office. But believe it or not, we launched the first website in golf in 1994. Way before 2000, way before the Super Bowl with pet.com and, you know, go find a petsitter.com and all that, right? So I've seen a lot change from really the very basics of the internet when you used to, you know, hear those, you know, startup sounds to where we are today. So it's really been a fun ride as far as the digital world. But I wanted to as the cleanup batter here, maybe, kind of bridge some conversations here, because one of the things about golf is that it's still it's a generational industry. And what that means is, fortunately, we've got a business where people can pick up the game, when they're 10, or in some cases earlier now, all the way up to, if you're 90, if you're, healthy and you can still swing a club. So, one thing I would say is that you still have to use a mix of media in this industry. And just like both Christinas have talked about, that comes with, again, knowing your audience. Remarkably though, even as we're getting to the older demographics, so many people are on this thing, right? I mean, it's the numbers are off the charts in terms of where people are buying now. And I would say it's over 60% with most of the clients I deal with now, where purchases are coming in, from online, and specifically from mobile devices. So, so when I say, a mix of media, yes, there's still a need for print in certain, places, and, putting all the different pieces together, whether, you're using social media, or you're using, even basic marketing materials. But one thing in particular that's really key to that's now starting to feel like old school a little bit, and that's websites. For some of you who've been in the business for a while, you should either be looking to refresh your website right now, especially, if you've had one for a long time. I think I've probably done 5 different versions of my own since I, built my first one, because still it's social and digital, and everything you're doing marketing wise is still about, no matter what your product is driving people to your website to buy that product, or to learn more about what you're doing, right? It's still the store. So I can't say enough about it. And especially there's so many platforms that have evolved now, that you really want to make sure that you're on the right platform that's really going to benefit you. Whether it's WordPress, or it's, there's sort of do-it-yourselfers, right? There's still a lot of those platforms out there, Wix, Squarespace. Anybody that's in an e-commerce business better be on Shopify. It is by far the platform that works for the best for e-commerce. And I say that because, now what's happening is website platforms are being built so that, you've got all the widgets built in, right? The difference of, buying a basic car, or you buy the, premium model that's got all the electrical and digital stuff, right? So I can't say enough about, again, starting with basics, and your home base is your website. So, and, really you can find, there's all varieties of web designers now. You can find very talented people that can rebuild your site, depending on, if you don't need something elaborate with a lot of coding. Very easy to rebuild a site, not spend a lot of money, but it's worth every penny to make sure that you've got a website that's working the best for what you're trying to do, whether it's setting up to sell golf lessons, or setting up for, retail products. Really important. And
can I
yeah.
jump in on that?
Yeah.
Because you're starting to talk about money. And so some of the questions in the chat also, and one of my questions is, everything costs money. So kind of a 2-pronged question here is, how do you maximize your dollars for what you should have in your marketing toolbox? Where should you go, and how should you figure that out? Because there's a lot of web designers, a lot costs money. So it's basically, how do I maximize my marketing dollars, and what should be in my toolbox?
Yeah, well, this is one thing I think we entrepreneurs are all very guilty of, right? It's that we kind of feel like we want to do it all. We want to have our hands in it all. And one of the things I've learned and have recommended often to my clients is figure out what your worth is in your business. Christina, Kay, you make the most money probably when you're out teaching, that's your golden, revenue flow. So, and I'll just, throw some rough numbers out. So let's say you're worth $150 an hour, right? And you can get somebody to do some graphic design for you for $25 an hour. I would not be spending 5 hours designing a web page or designing a flyer when not only can that graphics person probably bang it out in, a half an hour or an hour at that, whatever it might be, 30, 50, it depends, on the level of the experience. But I see clients do this all the time. Now, some of us want to do it because it's fun, but if you're sitting there spending 5, 6 hours when your time ought to be out, having a lesson at 200, contract someone to do it. And this is the biggest mistake I see small companies do, because they feel like, oh, I can't afford it. I can't afford it. Well, if you start crunching the numbers on what your time is worth, and, last I checked, there's only 24 hours in a day, do the math.
That's a good point too, because let's just take, Christina Ricci talked about, she was, a graphic designer. There's a whole lot, their expertise is in how to make that look good and simple. And sometimes I think people try to do a flyer and they put too much into it. There's a lot to be said for white spaces. And that's what graphic designers are for. So,
and being able to, help you craft your message. And a lot of times too, I recommend bringing people from the outside in, because we're too close to our baby. It's hard to separate ourselves sometimes from, the message we want to put out there, or even necessarily, having, not being too opinionated about it. Somebody from the outside in is coming without all that attachment, right? So I think especially when it comes to these types of things, I can't say enough about having good images. And you have a lot of choices now. Yes, you can do a lot of things with a cell phone. You can, shoot your video, but you want to make sure that you have good images. In some cases, you probably want to have a professional photographer. If you own a golf course, or you're involved in a golf course like Shannon Wisney, she doesn't want to be out there shooting on the back of a cart trying to take pictures, right, of her gorgeous golf course. And you want to find somebody that's good at it. Jan Beljan will tell you that too. You don't want to hire a wedding photographer to shoot your golf course. I know a lot of times we try to use family members and, try to cut corners that way. But what I've always found out is, the old saying, you get what you pay for. But the good news is there's a lot out there now, so you can source it for a lot better cost. So I think that's really important. Somebody mentioned Canva, fantastic. If you're, if you're a graphic artist waiting to burst out of your shell, that thing is fantastic. That platform can help you design anything. So that's just a gift for entrepreneurs to really do just about anything you need to. But in terms of back to the website piece of it, email marketing, Christina touched on, I think both Christina's database. I see too many people that don't put in enough effort to building their database. And there are tools now inside, not email marketing to go out and communicate, but ways to grab people when they hit your site. You don't want to lose anybody that's come and, checked you out. And so there are different ways inside your website, pop-ups, different, if you have content that you can provide for people, ways to get their email list, email address, that's the gold. Especially if you have a business. My clients right now, about 30 to 50% of their revenue is coming from their internal mailing list. This is gold. This is where their profit's coming from. So that's the importance of really being able to build your own list, because then you've got the opportunity, like both Christinas have said, to go sell them product A, product B, product C, and you're not spending any more money other than to communicate with them. So the technical term is to set up email flows. And there are ways you can do this that are built into your website. You might not even know it, but those are really important things. I can give you an example myself. When COVID hit, I had a radio show on iHeart, and suddenly independent shows were cut off. You know, we couldn't be in the studio. So fortunately, I had built a database of about 30,000 people. And suddenly I said, wow, you know what? I got my own audience. I don't know how much 1 hour on iHeart at 6 o'clock at night through Orlando is really bringing me. I mean, 1 hour every week, but I'm going, holy moly, boop, guess what? I don't need the radio station anymore. I've got, you know, now an audience that's, you know, loyal, and that now I'm marketing to, and I've now created a whole nother revenue stream going direct to customers, because these are loyal customers that I've built. And so my open rates, my click-through rates, they're 4 or 5 times what the average industry rates are. Why? Because I built it on a platform, just like Christina did with her book, etc. So I can't say enough about the importance of a database.
Okay, this is great. I mean, I think this could go on for hours. You guys are giving us great information.
That's
It was
right.
kind of interesting because when you were talking, Holly, the other two Christinas that are up here shaking their head, yes, yes, yes. So let me just open it up to the panel, because what you said about the email list and loyal customers is it's selling internally. And that's going back to the basic premise of know your audience. And then, okay, so that's the first question. And then I have one other question I could summarize from some of the chats, because we're going to run out of time soon. So Christina, do you want to make any comments about what Holly just said about, again, know your audience?
Yeah, I mean, I will always go back to marketing. Marketing has been my profession for 20 years, 20 plus years. So knowing your audience is the number one thing. No matter what any of us do in business, you have to know who your audience is. And if you don't know who your audience is, do not spend money on any of this other stuff until you know, because you will waste a ton of money. And I do not advise it. Take the time. There's plenty of resources out there. Use the social media tools to, like I said, vet your audience and your demographic before you make any decision. I mean, email to me is gold. For our database is huge, because I've always made that my number one priority. No matter if I go to an event, I don't care if we don't sell one thing, as long as I came home with email addresses, that is our goal. My entire staff knows it. I don't care if you don't sell a golf towel or a skirt, come home with a boatload of emails, because that is gold. And I can use it to sell product, to test out new products, and I can use it for so many different things. So whether you get those emails on your Facebook page, make it like a primary thing to sign up on your VIP mailing list on every one of your social things, add it to your website. When you come to a website, hey, you know, add your email and we'll send you updates on blah, blah, blah. Like whatever you do, gather emails. And once you have that, there's a million things you can do. So I think that's your number one thing to do, is just build your database.
And I just wanted to add one thing to that. One thing has remained true in this business for as long as I've been in it. You know, that the platforms may have changed, but golf has always been about quality, not quantity. And honestly, our business isn't that complicated, as even more so today, because you can find the niches. You just have to find the niche, and then, you know, dive all in.
Miss Ritchie, you were going to say something also. You're going to add a comment.
No, I'm just in full agreement. I have nothing else to add. I think we've nailed it. Database.
And I agree. I mean, I don't always, you know, every time I get an email, it's like, put it in.
I would also say with that too, because a lot of people are afraid to communicate with their tribe, if you will, their customers. You can't communicate enough, especially if you got e-commerce. You know, they want to hear from you. You want to get them before they go decide to make a purchase with the next thing that, comes across their stream. So don't be afraid to communicate. They've given you permission.
Yeah.
So
Before we hop on, okay, you're going to jump in, but it would be so awesome if we all like followed each other on our Facebook or Instagram things. I mean, we're all here. We're all talking about social. So one of the best ways, let's build our database, just even with how many people do we have on here? I don't even know, but we can all start with each other. There's 23 of us. I mean, we can all start by following each other, supporting each other, and sharing here. So obviously golf for her, everything, anywhere, and on social media, just golf for her, just plug it in on there. But I'll follow all of you. I'll share all of your stuff and count me in on everything. So just want to share that.
This is fun because this is the whole idea of Wiggy too, is that, and we're really gaining steam in doing all this, is this has really brought us to making connections with each other, which is absolutely fabulous. It's I've already, over the last couple of years since I've been involved, it's been about making different connections, and it's not just about just golf pros or just teaching lessons. It's about making great connections and women supporting women. So the more we can all share, the better. And so again, I'm going to make the plug for the members that haven't updated their profile. Please do so. Those of you that are not members, we would certainly like you to join. And there's a big button on the homepage that says join. Our webmaster, Pam Allen, will be ecstatic when you join, and so will our membership committee. But one of the questions, major questions in the chat, and I'm just going to open this up for the last few minutes, is this is overwhelming. How does everybody manage all this? Besides, I mean, I'm doing golf lessons, Christina doing golf lessons, you're selling clothes, Holly's doing her marketing business, but how do you manage all this? And maybe the thing to do is to say, how much time do you allocate to it? 20%, 50%, 100%, and that might be a good way to kind of talk about it.
I'll just jump in. I have a social media calendar that I use that is pretty straightforward. It helps me manage content. It basically tells me what I'm going to post every single day for the entire month. I spend a few hours dedicated certain days of the week where I'm putting the content together, the images, the content, whether it's a blog post, video post, whatever it is that I'm developing. And I use later that platform we talked about earlier to schedule it all out. So I have my content pretty much scheduled out about 2 weeks in advance. And I do like a month's worth of content in about a total of about 5 hours, because it can become very cumbersome. I am everywhere, but you don't have to be everywhere. So the more places you're going to be, it requires the more time. But honestly, there's a lot of great interns out there too, who you can always reach out to your local colleges and use them, because those are your younger kids who know the social media, and take advantage of them, because some of us older peeps might not be on the cutting edge, but they're there. They come cheap, and they're willing to do it, and don't not take advantage of that. There's some really good resources to help you out there.
Find people on the golf teams.
Yes. Pro shops. Like some of the girls. Yes.
Yep, they're motivated.
Okay. Christina, any other comments? Here, I'll help out a little bit. Okay. So we've got about, well, we're right at 5 o'clock. Let me just do this. I'm going to ask each one of you for your one last parting thought that you wanted to leave with everybody. So just what would you say to everybody about, one last thought that you could give them?
Whatever you, you want to start with me?
Sure.
Who we start with? What?
Yeah. Christina, go. Sorry.
Whatever you put out there, just make sure it's on social, just make sure it's value and quality and short.
Christina T.
Have fun with it. Don't take it so serious. Have fun. We need soft, light things in this world. Have fun with it. It's golf for Christmas, like it's a great sport. Have fun.
Holly G.
Go play golf. We forget that's the game that got us in this thing to begin with, right?
Good point.
That's right. So how do we manage social media? Get outside and play golf every now and then, and this is what I will say. If you don't want to, don't keep score. And as I always say, it's a game. Keep your head up, because it's all in the attitude. So I want to thank everyone. It's been our 3 panelists have been absolutely outstanding. I want to thank you for your work. Thank you for being members. Thank you for inviting the guests. And thank you for all of our guests for being here. All the questions didn't get answered in chat. if you're a member, you can always click on the member link and get anybody's email to ask them direct questions about photography, YouTube, whatever. And I would suggest doing that because some of them are very specific questions. So please reach out to each other and please connect. And so on behalf of WIGI, I want to thank you all very, very much. And everybody can go off mute and if you have
Good job.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody, for your time.
Thank you.
It was great. Good to see
Thank
everyone.
you.
That was so good.
Wonderfully done. Appreciate your career's worth of effort.
Thank you, everybody. Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.